I think Harry and Meghan are hitting the buffers, and I think the royal family is practicing the 12-step loving detachment technique of letting the situation resolve itself, letting people hit rock bottom.
The Montecito spin game is on, but it's not going to work because breaking today, new revelations inside Netflix that the final nail in the coffin for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's $100 million deal were poor sales of her as ever wine. The newspaper reporting no one in Hollywood rates them anymore or wants to be around them, especially her. People are bored with them. The wine isn't selling, they said, because even though As Ever claimed it sold out in an hour, it is a small batch, meaning it was only ever produced in small quantity. Netflix believes the launch has shown that there isn't a demand for her wine from a mass market point of view, and this means a bigger and more lucrative supermarket or department store deal is highly unlikely. A source for the streamer adding Meghan hasn't posted on her own socials for nearly a month. The issue is that there's no consistency and people are bored with them. Many stars go silent and in the background are building their brand and equity, but it feels like Harry and Meghan are losing their way even more. So then the riposte, which comes to page 6 by a Sussex propagandist, Sarah Nathan, who writes, even though the exclusive $100 million deal is done, there's a promise of more TV projects coming soon from Meghan and Prince Harry, which, let's be honest, is what nobody wants. They're poised to sign a first look deal, which means nothing, by the way. They'd get absolutely no money. But a source close to the Sussexes told the New York Post there are more TV projects coming soon with both the Duke and the Duchess. They added, as a growing business, As Ever is continuing to explore growth opportunities that feel aligned with the brand's core values and quality standards. The brand continues to evolve with new products that align with her vision for quality lifestyle goods at accessible prices. But the final nail in the coffin must be when the propagandists at People magazine had to reveal the news. But of course they tried to spin this, claiming that Meghan and Harry won't be renewing their $100 million contract with Netflix rather than the other way around. Oh, goodness gracious me. Well, of course, I've been on this story from day one. So too has Lady Colin Campbell, even when the mainstream media was saying, no, everything's fine, Netflix loves her. But Lady C, look, even we couldn't predict what a disaster, what an embarrassment this would be. Because, of course, Meghan has put all of her eggs in the Netflix basket and now has to deal with the fact that they want nothing to do with her. Big news, Outspoken is now available as a podcast too. So please do subscribe wherever you get yours, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and make sure you rate and review. I'll take 5 stars, if you may.
Yes, isn't it interesting, Dan? Isn't it wonderful to see everybody eat crow? You just love it.
Oh, I'm not going to lie, Lady C, it's been quite an enjoyable week.
Yeah, well, we are vindicated. Everything we've been saying for the last year or two has turned out to be true. Well, what can I say? Poor Megsy baby, poor H. And of course, as we all know, they've never had $100 million.
No.
And, you know, when people say that they had $20 million per annum, people have no idea what they're talking about. Of course they have $20 million per annum. I think if they've ended up with a profit of 20 million after the 5 years or however long it's been, they've done pretty well. And I think I'm being very generous. What do you think?
Well, yes, because of course what people don't realise, Lady C, is that they have to pay to run their production company, Archerwell. And so even though they might be receiving, certainly for this documentary, they received a hefty fee from Netflix, but they have to pay for the production, they have to pay for the executives. And of course, that has been a revolving door too. They've had so many people come in, because they think, okay, this is our new best friend. They'll be able to solve that problem. But of course, at the same time, Lady C, those people who were previously coming in were on salaries close to 7 figures, some of them. And they've produced nothing. Like, what's happened, Lady C, to the rights for the novel that they bought that were meant to be turned into a movie? That's just gone the same way as Pearl, the cartoon with David Furnish that, let's be honest, according to some claims, Meghan may well have ripped off. So I agree. I don't think they're left with much. And that's why we're now at crisis point financially for the Sussexes.
Yes, my heart bleeds for them. In fact, Mickey is so upset that she'd like to start a GoFundMe campaign for Meghan and Harry. The only problem is that she wants bones as well, and the bones I have decided need to be out of diamond.
The irony is, Lady C, a GoFundMe for Harry and Meghan would actually probably end up raising less money than your very successful GoFundMe campaign for Thomas Markle.
Yes. Well, wasn't that wonderful, actually? And he's now a year older. I think he celebrated his 81st birthday last week. Sorry. Aurora's distracting me.
I mean, there is an irony, of course, because for a long time we've been very worried about Thomas. I'm still worried about him, by the way, but that's a whole other story. We'll have that discussion another day. But of course, the idea that now Meghan could put her hand in her own pocket is almost for the birds. There ain't no money. She's not got any money. And they are rip-roaring through Prince Harry's spare royalties. They are rip-roaring through his inheritance from the Queen Mother, not to mention the little nest egg from Princess Diana. So do you start to think, Lady C, that there is a financial motivation behind the fact that they are trying to get back in with King Charles?
Well, Dan, I don't actually think they're trying to get back in with King Charles. I think this whole production was to impress Netflix with how topical they were and how many column inches they could get. Because remember, the meeting with Meredith Maines and Liam McGrath and what's his name? Tobin
Andre from Buckingham Palace, the King's Communication Secretary.
Yeah, it coincided with the crunch time where the Netflix deal was concerned, as indeed did Harry's Angolan foreign. So I think they have been desperate to prove to Netflix that they are the most topical couple on earth, and therefore they were worthy of being renewed. I honestly do not think that Harry is so naive, even if he's dumb, as to believe that the way to mend fences with his father would be through the communications secretary at Buckingham Palace and his PR people. I mean, Harry knows that if he were going to have to do something like this, it would be done through Clive Alderton, who is the King's private secretary. Alternatively, there would be approaches made through people privately, some of whom I know. And but none of those people is actually biting the bait at the moment. So I think this has been desperation traits for them. And I think they knew that this was in the offing, as indeed did you and I. And I think that the mere fact that this has failed so miserably shows that yet again, I mean, Meghan manages at every turn to out-manipulate herself, which I think is rather not only ironic, but just, because if ever anybody deserved to end up with a boomerang, it's Meghan.
Can I just show you what Robert Jobson had to say on the Sun's royal exclusive show, Lady C? Watch this.
was always said about $100 million, wasn't it? And the talk of that figure sort of blew a lot of people's minds. But I think that was for productions and things that they're supposed to have done. Where does it leave them? Probably with a bit of a bowl out, looking for some handouts. Maybe that's why they were over with their staff. Were over here having discussions with the king. You know, I don't know. The reality is, in the past, they got support from the king and the late queen. And that they said they were going to go and make their way. They've lost Spotify, they've lost Netflix. Yeah, they can't rely on the spare money forever, can they?
But I'm told, Lady C, that King Charles is absolutely adamant that he will not start funding them again.
Well, that's my understanding as well. The king said, I'm not a bank, and I don't intend to have Harry turn me into a bank. And I think he's adhered to that. Also, there is the issue that it's not only money that's involved with this. It's also, should Harry and Meghan be allowed a platform that would allow them to further betray the interests and abuse the interests of not only the royal family, but the British people generally. So I think money is a part of it, but money isn't the whole of it. And I suppose that if push came to shove, and at some point the king needed to write a check for 500,000, he would make sure that it was hedged in with so many constraints that Harry and Meghan would choke at the bit. But I don't see that happening, certainly not in the short term. I think Harry and Meghan are hitting the buffers, and I think the royal family is practicing the 12-step loving detachment technique of letting the situation resolve itself, letting people hit rock bottom, in the hope that ultimately there is something that Harry will do about his problems, his issues. Because remember, there are huge underlying personal problems where Harry is concerned. And of course, the family is aware of it, as of those of us who know about some of those issues. I mean, it's money, writing a check isn't going to solve everything. In fact, it might actually exacerbate things, and it might prevent Harry from hitting bottom in the resourceful and constructive way that those who love him hope he will hit bottom in.
Lady C, what do you make of the speculation that Meghan is now going to try and use this relationship that she has with Brian Robbins, who is the head of Paramount Plus, to try and secure a new streaming deal? Harry and Meghan's spare posted, here's the spin. Word on the street is Meghan's inking a deal with Paramount. Coincidence? Her close pal, Tracy's husband, Brian Robbins, just happens to be the CEO. This wouldn't shock me. Meghan's been cozying up to Tracy Robbins. Think Beyonce concert invites, guest spots on her cookery flop, and photo ops together at the Bob Marley movie premiere in Jamaica. Sounds like a strategic move in the making. I think this will be the spin. But the problem with that, Lady C, and I have no doubt that Meghan was hedging her bets, but at the moment, Paramount is in the process of being sold. There's no desire to pee off Donald Trump, who is obviously central to that sale going through smoothly. And there's already been a whole load of stuff going on in America connected to that, including an apology for 60 Minutes, the axe scene of Stephen Colbert on CBS, which lots of people have said was a case of him being Markled. So even if Brian Robbins himself, because he clearly does like Meghan, he's clearly a woke bloke with a woke wife and they love Meghan, I don't think he'll be allowed to hand her a deal. Do you?
Well, Dan, I don't think any deal of any substance is going to come from him. I mean, he got Meghan and Harry to effectively rescue the Bob Marley movie, which was not getting the attention that they hoped it would get. And they knew that if they flew Harry and Meghan to Jamaica, that would cause such a stir that people would become aware of the movie. That's why Harry and Meghan were flown to Jamaica. And Harry and Meghan effectively did them a good turn. But is that going to translate into a 5, 10, 15, 20, $50 million deal? I don't think there is any possibility of that at this point. I think had he been in a position to do so, they would have been plotting and planning it for the last year. The fact that they can't and won't. I mean, the guy is sensible. He is successful. He looks at the bottom line. He can see the figures, and Meghan and Harry cost money. Netflix made money out of their first series and didn't make money otherwise. And the publishers, Penguin Random House, made 1 second, sorry. Aurora, stop that. Sorry. Aurora!
What's she doing?
Sorry. I don't know. She's Aurora, get her.
She can't destroy your flat, Lady C.
I don't know what she's barking at something outside. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Hopefully we can override her.
But first, let's be honest, finding a doctor who isn't just parroting big pharma talking points, practically impossible these days. But one bold Texas doctor of physical therapy is cutting through the nonsense, revealing 7 powerful reasons why anyone over 50 should be drinking this one overlooked thing daily. And no, it's not milk, not some chalky calcium shake either, don't worry. It's a unique protein your body stops producing as you age, yet it's been shown to dramatically boost bone density, soothe joint pain, and even smooth out wrinkles and cellulite. Users also seen thicker hair, stronger nails, and faster results than you'd expect, some in just 2 weeks. And get this, over 5 million jars sold, more than 8,000 5-star reviews, and a 365-day money-back guarantee. That is confidence. So for my listeners, you can get up to 45% off this formula plus free shipping right now. Just head to trynativepath.com/outspoken. Again, that's trynativepath.com/outspoken. No fluff, just results. Go see what the hype's about. And very excited to tell you that at the end of our royal interview, we will actually be speaking to that bold Texas doctor to reveal much more about why Big Pharma can no longer be trusted. So do stay tuned for that. But now, back to the show. And Lady C, the thing is that even if there is, because what I had always predicted is what the spin now is to the New York Post today. I had always predicted that they would end up with a first look deal, because a first look deal is meaningless. It's worth nothing, absolutely nothing. In fact, you could argue, Lady C, it actually in some ways hinders Harry and Meghan, because, okay, they can go around briefing to the New York Post, oh yes, we have a first look deal with Netflix, we're still in business. But all it means is that any idea they have to offer to Netflix before any other streaming giant. So actually it makes it harder for there to be a bidding war about a new project, for example. But it feels like that is the only spin that they have. And sure, Netflix has changed its strategy in some way. It's just not signing up flops anymore. Because the reality is, Barack and Michelle Obama were a flop for Netflix. And there are lots of people who haven't been flops for Netflix. Shonda Rhimes, for example, who's behind the Bridgerton series. She's signed another deal worth astronomical money. So I think Harry and Meghan are completely intellectually dishonest trying to say, oh, Netflix has changed strategy. No, Netflix just ain't going to back flops anymore.
Well, it's not only that Netflix is going to back flops anymore. is that Netflix has realized they are such losers that Netflix has set things up in such a way that Harry and Meghan will offer them first. And as you say, that's not a particularly good position for them to be in. And it shows that what I was saying about Paramount is absolutely correct. Because, I mean, Harry and Meghan would not be giving the first option to Netflix if they had the possibility of a good deal with Paramount. But I mean, Harry and Meghan have made themselves so unpopular with so many people. And that might have worked had they been great successes. But because they have not been great successes, they have actually been financial disasters. I mean, Harry's polo is number 3,500 and something out of 7,000. Meghan's is number 300 and something. Oh, so neither of them is in the top 10. Neither of them is even in the top 100.
And I mean, there is so much to take away from this, Lady C. Think Beautiful posted with Love Meghan going out with Chrissy Teigen as the major guest is just the icing on the Netflix cake. Royal Thoughts said Meghan has said several times that Netflix is her business partner for some products, more delusional, smoke and mirrors. As the public well knew, it was a disastrous publicity stunt to try and puff up the show that, as we all know now, has delivered record low ratings. And the thing is, Lady C, can we just for a moment remind everyone what Meghan said literally weeks ago? Because she might think that everyone is so foolish that we either just ignore her lies or pretend she's never sent them. But do you remember when she sat down with Emma Grede for that quite revoltingly sycophantic podcast? She was making it very, very clear that all of her business ambitions were tied to staying in a deal with Netflix. Watch this.
Went from about to onboard a CEO and a small team to having Netflix as my partner. That takes it to a completely different level.
Totally different level.
And yes, and goes very far beyond my ideas of, I can sell locally. I could maybe be at a farmer's market. I thought that would be cute.
I'm going to do global Netflix.
Yes. So suddenly it changed quite a bit. And then the offerings, of course, will expand to meet that same demand and that, interest, which I'm grateful for.
I mean, she couldn't have made it any more clear.
The problem with live by the sword, die by the sword, dish up a BS, then you have to swallow it. All of a sudden, the taste isn't so agreeable. And I don't think the smell is agreeable either. Meghan has not yet learned at over half her lifespan, because if your natural lifespan is 70, Meghan is well into middle age because she's 40-something. And she hasn't yet learned that telling tall tales will actually not necessarily result in everybody believing your lies, swallowing them and acting upon them, and they then become the truth. I mean, she's a great one for manifesting. I think she says that, if you act as if it will ultimately happen. Well, she's been acting as if, and she's been making claims that $100 million from Netflix, 20 million from Spotify. She's on her way to becoming a billionaire. She's going to be a huge star. She's going to knock that silly woman off her Goop channel, and she's going to be able to sell sprinklers for vaginas instead of the scented candles for vaginas that Gwyneth Paltrow sells. And I mean, it's all BS. The woman is a BS merchant. I mean, and it's all coming back to bite her because she said it, it's out there. And Meghan doesn't seem to understand that if you've said something today that ends up being palpably incorrect tomorrow, people are going to be able to say, excuse me, what you said doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. She has gone through life because this is how she succeeded. She has all her life climbed the greasy pole, sometimes vertically, sometimes horizontally, sometimes, but always very effective. And she has done it with just pretending to be greater and grander and better than she was. And sort of coming up with these tall tales that people believed, and there was no comeback, because then she'd be on to the next person or the next thing. And the problem with Meghan's situation is once she arrived as a royal, she then had the eyes of the world upon her. And everything she said and everything she did was no longer a manipulative device, even though she still thought it was. But it was something that people were going to judge and assess her worth of. And that's where the problem has arisen. That it's basically a technique for achievement that got her to where she got, a sort of snake oil merchant, El McGantry, Mac 2, or as Bill Simmons said, an effing grifter. And it worked to get her where she wanted to get. And of course, I think the fact that she also had certain natural talents that sort of worked very well for her.
The oldest talents in the book, you might say, Lady Colin Campbell. And it was very interesting because the Daily Mail just did a little list, and I thought it was quite worth repeating. The Bench, a flop. The Netflix documentary, a flop. The Disney narration, a flop. The podcast, a flop. The Netflix series, a flop. The podcast interviews, a flop. As Ever, a flop. Instagram, a flop. Bought Awards, a flop. And you just think, God, really nothing has worked. But of course, if you do want first access to our Royal Uncancelled After Show every single weekday here on Outspoken for the exclusives that you simply will not get from the mainstream media or the Royal Rota, then please do sign up to www.outspoken.live. There is now a war on aging, which I view as like the new culture war, because we're being sold the same solutions by the people who created the problem, right? Now, I thought with RFK Jr. and Make America Healthy Again, medical freedom and distrust of Big Pharma was going to become just part of our natural day-to-day. We're told to trust the system, of course, but that is the same system that gave us opioids and Ozempic. So I wanted to bring in today Dr. Chad Waldine. He is the co-founder of Native Path, which is not one of these typical pharma companies. But Dr. Chad, actually, you're on a mission, aren't you? Because good health is so political now. It connects with strong families, strong bodies, strong minds. And obviously, I want to talk specifically about what the Outspoken audience need to know about this product in terms of collagen. But when you look at that big picture, I think it's so important that we're not just sucked in down all of the same paths that have led us to where we are now, which is a very unhealthy world. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah, it's so unhealthy. And you bring up such a good point. From my perspective, we have a food industry that knows nothing about health and a health industry that knows nothing about food, right? And once you really understand that, you can see why we're in the problems that we are. You mentioned I'm a physical therapist. One of the first things they have us do is go do internships. My first internship that I ever did was at a hospital that was world renowned for its treatment in heart disease. And when I went on that hospital for the first day, on the first floor of this heart hospital was a McDonald's, right? And you can see we're being fed foods that, yeah. So right there, you can kind of see, You have to laugh. You have to laugh. But that's kind of where we're at. And we watch TV, and they're feeding us all these foods that are refined and processed and get us sick. And the next commercial is a commercial about a pill that we're supposed to take. And we're in the middle as consumers, So as a physical therapist and someone who's worked in the conventional system, going into people's homes, I got frustrated with this. I didn't like what I was seeing. I started doing a lot of research. I learned a whole lot about nutrition, human biology, what our genes are expecting of us. And really at the forefront of what we do here at Native Path is we try to get people off the path of what most people are doing is eating that stuff and taking those pills and get them on the path to eating, moving, and living in harmony with their biology.
Yes, and that's what I think is so important about your product, because collagen is, of course, crucial for aging. And it's especially crucial for those in the Outspoken audience. And we're a real family here. We talk a lot about health and well-being who are over 50. But I've done a lot of research on this now, Dr. Chad, and there are tons of collagen supplements out there, right? But Native Path and your formula is very different.
Yeah, it's very different, and it's based on purity. And starting with what collagen is, it's a protein. It's the most abundant protein in the body. It's something that makes up our hair, our skin, our nails. It helps make our bones strong. It's even important for our gut lining. And it's something that's like our ancestors would get plenty of, but in our modern diets, because we're so bombarded with carbohydrates from refined foods, we're not getting near enough of it. So because of that, our bones are breaking easier. We're hearing things like bone on bone from our doctors. Our tendons are snapping. Our rotator cuffs are going. And it's because we're deficient in this very important protein that our ancestors got plenty of. So it's a big part of what I say is important when we're aging. You have to have this as part of your diet.
And you've actually termed this, and it's pretty terrifying, but we've got to be honest about this, a collagen crisis in aging populations. Now, why is it that we are now losing collagen earlier than previous generations? Like, is this an environmental thing, or is it a lifestyle thing?
It's a lifestyle thing. It's important to know that our bodies, we do produce collagen endogenously on our own, but that production begins to decline around the age of 20. And we produce around 1% to 2% less collagen per year. By the time we hit 60, we're producing half the amount we did in our 20s and 30s. So it's incredibly important to keep that in mind. And going back to, what makes our collagen different in terms of the purity, it's the source. It's where the collagen comes from. So we have this saying at Native Path, you're not just what you eat, you are what you eat eats, right? So the collagen that we're sourcing from, it comes from cows that are eating grass, the bovine hide. They're never injected with hormones or antibiotics. They live happy lives the way the cows are supposed to live. Most of the collagen that you're seeing out there is coming from a cow that is living in dirt. It's living in close quarters with other cows, and that cow gets sick. They give them antibiotics, they give them hormones to fatten it up, and that gives you a collagen product that's not very efficacious. You don't absorb it very well. It often smells, it's yellow, it's clumpy when you mix it with things. What we're going for is the purest, highest quality collagen that gives you the absolute best results. So Native Path collagen is type 1, type 3 from the bovine hide, mixes so easily, tasteless, odorless. It's the easy part to just make a part of your day.
Now, look, we've got to be honest, Dr. Chad, there are lots of scams in the anti-aging industry, lots of snake oil. Now, what my viewers know is that I only talk about products on Outspoken that I either know a lot about, that I use myself, because I'm so conscious of that being a real issue. So what can you say to just make sure that people know that we're talking about something very different with Native Path?
Well, this is backed by science. This is not just something we're like, hey, we hope this works or see what happens, right? It is heavily backed by science in terms of what is shown in your body, the changes a body experiences when you use collagen on a consistent basis. So there's studies that show that it's helpful in reducing wrinkles and fine lines. There's studies that show it can help improve your immune system. But what really gets me is there's studies that show it actually improves your bone density, right? So they've done studies that show that women who supplement with collagen have a 7% increase in bone density compared to women who don't, right? And going back to aging, this is it. As a physical therapist, I saw it all the time. As people age, they get weaker, they have trouble getting out of a chair, they have a fall, and they fracture their bones, right? So I can't stress enough how important it is to have strong bones as you age. And this is part of the equation. It's something that's heavily backed by science.
And of course, can you understand why there is so much more skepticism now in government-approved health narratives? I mean, right, we lived through COVID where we were told so many lies, right? And as a result, we have seen in America the rise of RFK Jr., the rise of the MAGA base pushing back. But this skepticism is actually a really important thing, don't you think?
Well, I think it's completely reasonable to be skeptic at this point because, like I said, we have a food industry that knows nothing about health, a health industry that knows nothing about food, and like in the middle, people are just being lied to. And if you look at what's happened over the past 100 years, metabolic disease has gone up, obesity has gone up, diabetes has gone up, cancer has gone up. All these things have gone up significantly despite all our advances in technology. So it's understandable that people will be skeptical at this point.
Yes. I mean, that's horrifying. It's just horrifying, isn't it, when you think about it?
It's so horrifying. And like I said, there's money. There's money in the food industry. There's money in the pharmaceutical industry. What we want to really educate people on are timeless principles of health. They were good 200 years ago. They're going to be applicable 200 years from now, right? If you focus on those things, these are the most basic things of nutrition. Whole, real food. Nutrition is part of the reason, is really the main reason why we got in this trouble. But nutrition is also the solution, right? So we're thinking about what we can add back into our diet to be nutritious again. This is it. Collagen is, in my opinion, it's the one thing that if you take it, everything else starts to get easier or unnecessary because it's so foundational in the structure of your body.
Wow. And is it more than just vanity, right? Because obviously I know it impacts wrinkles and it impacts hair, or does it actually go deeper than that?
It's deeper than that. And our collagen is type 1 and type 3, right? It's important to keep in mind that makes up 90% of the body. And type 1 is the outside things. It's the nails, the hair, the skin, all the things that we each see when we're looking at each other. We're actually looking at each other's collagen. But type 3 is all this stuff inside. It is the bones, it's the gut lining, it's the veins, it's the arteries, it's the fascia that surrounds the heart, right? That's the inside stuff, right? So what happens is when people start supplementing with collagen, they notice the outside stuff really quickly. It pretty much when 1 to 2 weeks, people are like, whoa, my nails are growing stronger. There's no doubt about it. The wrinkles in my skin are going away. My hair is starting to grow back. We want to help you feel confident that the inside stuff is also happening and just as important, if not more important, to the longevity of your health.
Okay, what about the people who say collagen doesn't work or that it gets broken down during digestion?
Well, I would say the studies are a big part of like what proves that's the case, right? And another thing that I go back to is DEXA scans. We have the benefit here at Native Path. We have over 1 million customers, right? So, and these customers, they respond to us, they tell us their results, and we see DEXA scans, pre and post DEXA scans, because we'll ask them, we'll say, hey, if you don't think this works, take a DEXA scan, try collagen, try it for 3 months, take 2 scoops a day, just see what happens. And they come back with improvements in their DEXA scan, right? This is without bone density drugs that they're taking, and they're seeing more dense bones. So that is a huge thing that proves that all these changes can be made through the supplementation of collagen, which is so impactful.
Okay, so let's be totally real. How quickly can someone expect to feel or see results from supplementing with collagen?
Well, most people, if they take it consistently, 2 scoops a day, every day, really it's that 1 to 2 week period where people notice the changes in their nails, right? That's the first thing that happens. The deeper things that happen with the bones, that's more like 8 to 10 weeks, maybe even 12 weeks, right? So you're seeing different time periods where you'll see changes in your body. But the quick results, really easy. You notice really quickly in the vanity stuff, in the hair and the skin and the nails, and that's typically within 1 to 2 weeks.
And how do we actually take it? Like, is it a pill? Is it a drink? What's the actual process?
Oh, it's so simple. So it's a tasteless, odorless powder. And the easiest way to use it is to start putting it into things that you already use. So for instance, I put it in my morning coffee. That's what most people do. You can also put it in your tea. A lot of people like to put it in smoothies. A lot of people like to sprinkle it over their soups, for instance. That's an easy thing to do. Just mix it in there, or put it into puddings or things like that.
So it can just be part of your regime.
Exactly. Just add it to what you're doing already. And that's what makes it great, is it's so practical and easy to use. It's not something you have to change anything up. You're just adding something to what you're already doing.
Now, obviously, you're a physical therapist, Chad, right? Is that how you got so passionate about collagen, of all things?
That is, yeah. So as I mentioned, I saw some things in the healthcare industry that weren't adding up. And I started looking at these changes that happened in the past 100 years and really started looking at the health of indigenous people and looking at the studies, people like Weston Price. He was a dentist in the early part of the 20th century, went all around the world studying what indigenous people ate and looked at their health, their native diets, and compared that to people living down the roads who were eating modern processed refined foods, and he compared their health. And he found indigenous people, when they ate their native diets, when they obeyed the laws of nature, they had fantastic health. Very little heart disease, very little diabetes, very little cancer. And the people down the road were dealing with all these things that we were dealing with today. And he was looking at what was in their diet, right? What was going on? He found protein was a big part of it, but he found a lot of them, they consume collagen on a consistent basis. And they would take the bones of an animal, put it in hot water, make soups, and consume it consistently. So I started doing this myself as an athlete, and I noticed I was healing better. I tore my ACL and I healed up better. I started suggesting bone broths to my patients pre and post surgery. I started seeing them getting better results. And then we started looking into more practical ways that people could use this besides making homemade broths, because that kind of stinks up the house and takes a lot of time. And these collagen powder is the easiest solution we can find, and the results are absolutely great. So huge believer in it, especially from a physical therapy standpoint in terms of helping people get out of pain and feel better.
So most important for people over 50, but like for me at 42, still really important.
Absolutely. Like I said, the decline in internal production of collagen starts in our 20s. So the only population that I don't recommend this to really is kids and teenagers. Everyone after that can benefit from collagen. It doesn't matter what stage of health you're in or what your goals are. It's something that should be part of our natural diet. Like a lot of people call it the fourth macronutrient because it's so important.
Wow, honestly, thank you so much for creating such an important product at a really crucial time, actually, as the world really wakes up to our health. I know I'm waking up. In the past, I would have maybe been one of those people who would just trust big pharma, but these days I do my own research and look for products like Native Path, which are all totally natural. So Dr. Chad Welding, thank you for your work, and thank you so much for being part of Outspoken.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dan. So good to be here with you.
So that was fascinating. And the great news is that for Outspoken viewers and listeners, you can get up to 45% off this formula plus free shipping right now. Just head to trynativepath.com/outspoken. So I'll repeat that because it's very good news. Up to 45% off this formula plus free shipping right now. Just head to trynativepath.com/outspoken, or you can just click on the link in the description box below this video. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.